call the meeting to order for the January Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. This time I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Sue Lee.
Thank you. Commissioner Letha Lee is going to have our invocation.
Will you bow your head as I pray? Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here this afternoon. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our callings, for wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, for a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, for confidence in what is good and fitting. I pray for the agenda set before us this afternoon. Please give us assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in our beloved county. It is in your most blessed name that I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would you join me in reciting the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Causey?
Mr. Chairman, we have got three things to add to the agenda if the board is so willing, and I believe Ms. Shannon has provided each of you a copy of those. And I think I also sent them out to you this afternoon. What we are proposing for item K on the consent agenda is a resolution requesting DOT funding for the Highway 24 extension to complete that work to I-40. Item L is a condemnation for a small parcel of land for the waste booster pump station. And the third item is item N, and that's a resolution of support for Project Bose that goes along with the presentation that Mr. Barrington is going to be presenting to you in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I'll accept the motion with these added on as a motion to amend for the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second. All in favor, raise your hand. It's approved. All right, good deal. Right now, we'll go to item 1, and we'll call our clerk of court, Chris Fan, up to do the swearing in for clerk of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and the commissioners, Mr. Collins, and your staff, what y'all do for Sampson County. All right, that's what I was looking for out there. I'm gonna braid this up for you pretty good, okay? Left hand on the Bible, right hand up, there you go. I state your name,
I, Stephanie P. Shannon,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of clerk to the Board of Sampson County Commissioners
the duties of clerk to the Board of Sampson County Commissioners
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my abilities,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
It's certainly a pleasure to welcome you as the new clerk. I've known this young lady entire life, and I know that she'll do a great job. All right, we'll go to item 2, which is planning and zoning. Ms. Lance, we'll call you up.
Good evening. The item that I have for review this evening was addressed by the Planning Board at its November 14th and December 12th, 22 meetings. ZTA 2201, it's a citizen-initiated text amendment request. The request was submitted by Tri-State Turf, Inc., seeking amendments to the Sampson County zoning ordinance. Did we open the public hearing?
Yes, let me open the public hearing for that. Please proceed.
Specifically, the request is to amend the definitions and table of uses sections and Chapter 15, special uses, specific use requirements. After taking other county practices regarding sawmills into consideration and making meaningful recommended changes, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend approval with the following modifications. 1, to add sawmill permanent to the definitions section. That definition is the operation of a fixed sawmill and/or chipper to process timber from any source or location for the purpose of selling such forestry or lumber products. 2, to amend the table of uses to require a special use permit for a sawmill permanent in the rural agricultural and industrial districts. 3, to add additional specific use requirements for the sawmill permanent use to Chapter 15, special use, specific use requirements, as recommended by staff with the following revisions, and I'm going to go one by one with these. 1, that the sawmill chipper must be located a minimum of 400 feet from any residential structure on surrounding properties, a residential structure inhabited by the property owner or operator of the other use of the tract is allowed. 2, documentation regarding the specific materials to be manufactured, milled, or stored, and the potential hazard which may be encountered in an emergency due to these materials must be provided with the required application. All buildings, storage sheds, structures, and parking or storage areas for vehicles, equipment, or supplies shall be set back from all property lines and public right-of-ways a minimum of 60 feet, or the building setbacks for the underlying zoning district, or as required by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, whichever is greater. Screening is required, which completely screens from view the stored items. Such screening shall be an opaque, durable wall or opaque fence at least 8 feet high, in addition to a minimum 30-foot wide vegetative strip around the entire area of operations, including any outdoor storage areas. This vegetative strip shall consist of a naturally wooded area or be planted with a mixture of evergreen and deciduous trees and shrubs to simulate a naturally wooded area within 3 years. Any gates allowing for access must meet the same height requirements and must be kept closed and locked after dark at any time when not open for business. All effluents and emissions into the air or surface or groundwater from the use, including any land disturbing activity, must be in conformity with all applicable federal, state, and county health and environmental quality regulations. Land development must also comply with all other applicable regulations, which also include floodplain and watershed regulations. All applicable health department regulations shall apply. Dust, dirt, and sawdust shall be disposed of in a manner that is acceptable by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Description of all equipment to be used on site and estimated noise levels, measurements where possible. Noise levels shall be minimal to surrounding properties between the hours of 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. In any case, the noise level, regardless of the time of day, shall not become a nuisance to neighboring properties. Those requirements are in addition to the requirements that are required for issuance of a special use permit, which include individual review of a specific location, quasi-judicial hearing, engineered site plan, state-required permits, and environmental health permits. The Planning Board recommendation is based on the following zoning consistency statement. The Sampson County Planning Board finds the proposed text amendments as amended by staff and with the inclusion of Planning Board's modifications to be consistent with the goals and objectives of the Sampson County Land Use Plan. The Planning Board finds that the text amendments are in best public interest and reasonable and recommends approval to the Sampson County Board of Commissioners. We do have a representative for the applicant in the audience if you would like to direct any questions to them.
Thank you very much.
Or myself, I'll be glad to try to answer.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions at this time? I think at this time, I'll call on Stephanie to read into the record a comment that she's gotten through the mail.
These comments were delivered to our office on January 5th from Ms. Carla Peterson. Ms. Peterson writes, "I'm opposed to allowing permanent sawmills as a special use in residential agricultural districts. A permanent versus portable or temporary sawmill may create too much noise, traffic, dust, and potential danger to neighbors. Farms continue to consolidate. At times, these large farms operate more like large industry. For example, tractor-trailer trucks move in and out of narrow dirt paths that border property lines with neighbors to a large warehouse on the farm that serves as a distribution center. This causes considerable noise, traffic, and dust to neighbors. This is the case at my own home. Whether the weather has been dry, dust coats my house, car, and anything else that rests in my yard. This happens even though I've planted a buffer of vegetation along the property line to prevent such from happening. Adding a permanent sawmill is an allowed special use will only exacerbate this problem. I believe the noise alone on a permanent basis would be something that a good neighbor would not impose on others. I'm opposed to this request. Carla Peterson, 3467 Taylor's Bridge Highway, Clinton, North Carolina."
Thank you. Ms. Lance, how did the board vote on this?
Unanimous.
Unanimous? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone else wish to speak at this time concerning this matter?
Just briefly, I am a representative. I'm an attorney, Andrew Dickerhoff for Lou Stallings' office. I represent Tri-State Turf. I will just say to the board, we spent a lot of time going through with the planning board and researching these issues, the noise, dust, all of it. And this came to great consideration through a period of 2 meetings. It wasn't just a decision that was made on a whim. We even did research for every single county in North Carolina to determine that setback distance. So there was a lot of thought that was put into this.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, if not, I close the public hearing. At this time, I will accept the motion.
I move that we adopt the recommended zoning consistency statement and approve the amendments to the Sampson County zoning ordinance as recommended by the planning board.
Second. All in favor? Let it show it's unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, this time we go to item 3. Mr. Clack?
Yes, I want to apologize to the board because at this time I thought we would have the audit report, but the auditor didn't quite finish it. So we do expect to have it delivered to the board at their February meeting.
Okay, thank you. This time, we'll open a public hearing and ask Mr. Barrington to come forward with the economic development budget for 22-23 discussion.
Thank you. We had received some golden leaf funds, and we're just looking to amend our budget and increase that so we could use that for product development activity over at the industrial park. The good thing about that grant is there's no matching requirement.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Barrington? Okay, I move we approve the amendments to the economic development. Well, wait a minute, we've got a public hearing, so we need to close that. So,
We may want to confirm that nobody signed up to.
do we have anyone?
No, sorry.
Okay, good, thank you. So I move we approve the amendments to the economic development budget as requested.
Second.
Got a second, all in favor, raise your hand. That's approved. All right, we're on to number 5. Mr. Barrington, you're up again, it looks
Thank
like.
you, thank you. There is a local company that is looking to expand, and what they've asked for an application for a building reuse grant. We're asking that the Board of Commerce support that grant. Again, there's no matching requirement on behalf of the county itself with this effort. They are looking to add around $3.16 million capital investment and 15 new jobs.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Barrington? Okay, I will accept the motion at this time.
Make the motion.
And I make the motion, then authorize the county manager and staff to contract with the North Carolina Commerce on behalf of the project Second. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
And to you.
Yeah, well, that makes two. Okay, Mr. Reynolds?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll be stepping in for Mr. Reynolds today. David with Dewberry, the consulting engineers for Sampson County Water. So tonight, I think we're going to have a little bulletin in your package about the Ivanhoe Water System. We're going to look at some updates for that project. So the project for the Ivanhoe Water System, it's an NCDEQ funded project that's being submitted to DWI, and as part of DWI's requirements, you must submit an engineering report. And the engineering report requires you to do alternative analysis to look at present worth cost, future analysis cost, and just overall constructability, feasibility study. So that was submitted back in December, and for that, we recommend that we're going to change preferred alternative that was initially put on the application to the following. It would be one booster pump station and the 40 miles of water main extensions, which is the same length of water mains that we had in the original funding application, same locations, none of that will change. And the reason we are changing is because this alternative will still meet the objective of providing the county water to those residents and with greater benefits. And those benefits would include having a lower present work cost for all the feasible alternatives that are listed in y'all's package. This will help sort of keep the project within the budget with the ever fluctuating construction and material costs that we've been seeing over the industry for the past 3 years. It also has the lowest yearly maintenance and operational costs, which is a very key and important factor with such a large expansion to the water system, with it being so far away from Clinton and where the Public Works office is. And as part of that, too, this will require only one item that needs to be regularly maintained, which would be the booster pump station that we are recommending. And we believe that current Public Works staff could keep up with the majority of this, and there would not necessarily be a need currently for them to require to hire any additional work. And then the third benefit to this is that you would have water sourced from outside the floodplain area, which is in Ivanhoe. Everybody knows there's large flooding areas throughout the whole area. So it'd be zero risk of flooding because the well sites would be the same ones that we use for the rest of the county. And we could also connect to Clinton's water at that same point. So it would be a lot more reliable and resilient because our wells would not be located in Ivanhoe. Let's see. And also the last part of that, we are proposing a booster pump station, and as part of that, we are going to put that near the Ingold tank. There's a tank in Ingold, and that tank is currently at the end of a line. So it's kind of a dead end system with that tank not being fully utilized. So the booster pump station is going to be located very close to the Ingold tank, which will help us kind of turn that water over. And everybody knows in this county that water age is a big issue. And with us being able to draw that water down and keep the fresh water in that tank, it's going to help everybody have a little bit cleaner water in the whole area south of Clinton. So that's the change to the project. That's our preferred alternative at this point, and that's what we submitted to DEQ as our preferred alternative. I had it listed in y'all's package, the full description of what's included with that, the water main roads, and you'll find they're exactly the same as the original. The differences are that we have one booster pump station instead of two, and no elevated storage tanks or wells listed. And if y'all look through your alternatives, alternative 4 was the original one in the funding application. And we believe that's a feasible option. It is feasible. However, the cost that would be associated with the first capital cost with ever-changing market rates, and also the significant operational and maintenance costs with adding an elevated storage tank, 2 additional wells, and a second booster pump station on there would really sort of puts it over top as being a lot more in the maintenance cost, and we're trying to keep that down. So anyways, Dewberry recommends that we tentatively change the preferred alternative as discussed, pending Department of Water Infrastructure's approval.
Is this within the allotted funds in the grant?
Yep.
No
And-
additional cost?
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of us changing it too, is that we found, after we did the funding application in the spring, prices continually change, and this will give us we feel like it will give us a lot better opportunity to meet the original funding intent and stay well within our budget.
Okay. Anyone have any more questions?
No, but I'm impressed that they're watching the budget and making sure we're staying within the confines. Thank you very much for the
Yep.
Yeah.
oversight.
Exactly. Okay, we need a motion to move forward with this.
I make a motion that we move forward with this water system.
All right. Second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor? Passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Causey, I think you're up now.
Mr. Chairman, we're gonna have a two-part discussion on school resource officers, and if you look in your packet, I have included a letter dated 11/21/22 from Mr. Mark Hammond of the Sampson County Schools. And they are sharing with us that they have been, or recipients of a grant in the amount of $44,000, for, what is it, David, 7 additional resource officers. In addition to that $44,000, their grant is mandated on the fact that the school system will actually contribute $11,000 per school resource officer in this process, or a total of $55,000. In your cover letter, they refer to 6 existing going to 13, and it's actually 10 existing going to 17, so I want to make that clear. In looking at this, that is the grant, and in many respects, it's a positive thing, because we certainly want to ensure that the protection of our children in school. I do point out that this originated with the school system. The sheriff's office is supportive of this and thinks it's a good thing, but they do point out this was not something that was originated with them. You will also see in this packet, there is some communications between our office and the sheriff on the amenities that will need to be going. For example, the sheriff has indicated that they could probably get by this year without the purchase of some additional cars, but that would be in effect. So, David, I think we've got rather minimal costs that we will endure for this year. However, one of the things we talk about, Mr. Chairman, in budgeting is unintended consequences, whether it be the sheriff's office or anybody else. And I think when we talk about additional funding, you have cautioned me very carefully to ensure that if I'm seeking additional funding from the state for whatever capital improvement project, you prefer not to have any associated additional operating costs to go with that. However, in a situation such as this, I can pretty much assure you there will be some additional costs, and it's beyond anybody's control, but it would have to. And so I'd like for David to talk for a minute or two about what the potential cost could be down the road.
Because this program represents a large undertaking, we thought it would be best to provide more context, since it will affect future budgets. And this is adding 7 people to the county is going to represent a cost that, with some money that the county has to pay. The grant for this that will be provided for the school is, of course, going to provide $55,000 to help offset each officer's salary. If we use a beginning officer salary as an example, the difference between what the grant will pay and what the salary and fringe is for that officer would be $8,151. And that's multiplied by 7, so we can expect that the county will be putting in that money, because it won't be grant funded. And of course, when we have these new positions, the officers require uniforms, equipment, and a fully equipped vehicle. The total cost per officer of these items is $149,000 approximately. For this grant, the sheriff has proposed that we start by using spare vehicles and purchase new ones in subsequent years. And he offered to purchase from seized asset funds the radio equipment for each new vehicle, which will help some part of the equipment cost for the vehicle. Going forward, of course, the replacement of these vehicles and the related equipment will become a cost to the county, just like they are for all the deputies and the current school resource officers. Some of the amounts previously mentioned includes annual ongoing costs. For example, gas, ammunition, certain uniform costs, will incur those every year as opposed to every third or fourth year, like some of the equipment cost and the vehicle cost. Other things we'll have to include will be the insurance for vehicles. We'll have vehicle insurance. Right now, that's approximately about $700 a year. We'll also incur the cost of regular maintenance and repairs as the vehicles get a little older. There's also a cost to the county whenever we create new positions. Any additional position must be added to our health insurance plan. As a result, we will certainly incur more claims as we add people and their dependents to our plan. Also, as it relates specifically to law enforcement, the county funds what they call a special separation allowance for law enforcement. That's a supplemental retirement piece. This is a state statute that we required to fund. The county's funded this for many years. We always set money aside in a fund just so it's be able to use to pay for it. We have more officers currently taking advantage of it than we ever have before. It allows certified law enforcement officers that have completed 5 years of continuous service and have 30 or more years of accreditable service, or are between 55 and 62 years of age, to receive this benefit. The annual cost of the benefit for a retired officer is their base salary multiplied by 0.85%, then multiplied by their years of service. For example, a qualifying officer making $45,624 at retirement will cost the county approximately $10,470 a year until they reach age 62. It's just one of the things we have to pay forward is a consideration to know that we will have to increase budgets. Currently, the county sets aside funds each year to pay these costs. We're currently paying in salary and fringes, or in benefits and fringes, $78,000 per year in special separation allowance cost. And currently, we only set aside approximately $37,500. Of course, we'll have to look at increasing that. We do have money saved, so it's not imperative right now to do it, but it's going to be a cost that's going to be going up and a cost that we will need to consider. In short, the cost of the county will increase if we accept these grant funds. If we were fortunate enough to only purchase 2 additional cars per year till we got to the 7, then the cost to the FY 23-24 budget would be approximately $250,000 in county funds. That's in addition to the grant funds that the schools are going to pay us, but the county funds will be about $250,000. This includes all 7 positions, but only purchasing 2 new cars in addition to what we normally purchase, which is about 15. So that would be 17. I don't know if we could, I don't know how, the spares are generally not in great shape, so it's possible this would be the ideal situation, to only get away with buying 2 each year until we got through this. Of course, the next year, if we did manage to just do 2, and we did 2 additional in the following year, that would be an estimated additional cost to the county of $131,000. So this is what we can expect to see added to the budgets if we accept these, if we choose to accept these grant funds.
No, thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions? It has an impact, unintended consequences. It has an impact on different departments, and this is really for the schools, but the sheriff's the one that gets the blunt of it with his budget. So I understand that and point that out. I think we got an estimate at one time for these SROs coming on, the 7 SROs. We figured, if we figured it like we normally do with new cars and all, it's gonna be over $1 million. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. If we did everything at one time, it would be a lot more money. We'd have some, I mean, that included the 7 full salaries for the 7, so the county part would be somewhat less, but yes.
So at least we've got that whittled down some, but the reason I bring it up is keep in mind, we cut $2.6 million out of our budget last year. So we'll start out with the budget this year, $2.6 million in the hole again, and have to work our way through that. Is that correct, Mr.?
Basically, yes, sir.
Yeah. So, I don't see how we can not do it. However, it gets expensive and it creates more concern for the time we try to work out a budget. And one of the things that we're faced with is we did a revaluation in 19 and we were neutral. We're in our 14th year of a neutral tax levy, other than the increase in the new houses and what have you, the only increase that we've got. And we've been faced with inflation each year. And some years it was not great, but this past year has been considerable. And so that really puts a burden on the county. And of course, this is something we're gonna have to deal with coming up. So I move we approve the increase of the SRO positions with the considerations listed in the attached memo.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Pass unanimous. Okay. Mr. Causey, you're up again.
Yes, sir. Give me just a second to flip over. I believe it was the October or November meeting when we first began talking about employee compensation and some of the challenges that we had. The board asked us to look at a variety of things. I think since then, you've done a couple of things. Number one, you have approved a salary increase to go into effect as of January that basically gives our employees a 2.5% increase. You've also authorized us to come back and do a market study with hopefully that we'll get that in sometime this spring. So the board is being proactive in the things that you're trying to do to meet the needs to provide the best services to the county and to accommodate our employees. In addition to that, you also ask us to begin looking at those things that we can do internally that could offer our employees some incentives, some encouragement, some benefits for the hard work that they do. And what we have for you tonight is we are presenting you a request for the consideration of the addition of a floating holiday. And this would be an extra administrative day that could be utilized by the employees, and the criteria is attached, but basically has to be someone who is out of their 6-month probation and would be eligible subject to the department head's approval. And the whole concept of this is it might be an employee, Mr. McClam, that wants to celebrate their birthday or another holiday or Juneteenth or whatever it is. There would be some flexibility for a wide variety of interests to be considered. I think my human resources folks would tell me as I talk to the department heads, if you approve this, is to be very careful. We got to make sure we have good communications because this extra day is going to have to be posted differently so that it can be monitored and it can be kept up with. But that is the whole gist of this, is to give that extra holiday in addition to the holidays that we now have. And generally, Mr. Godwin, we follow the state mandate on what they do for holidays, and this would be an addition.
Okay,
Questions or comments?
I have none. Does anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Collins, I certainly believe that this would be one way that we could recognize our employees for the hard work that they do. It would give them some incentive to continue keeping on and doing the work that they have been doing. You can't work people and not give them some kind of incentive to want to do that work. So I think this is one way that's going to help them, and maybe some more ways will come along.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll accept the motion. If anyone,
I make a motion that we accept that floating holiday.
okay.
Second.
You got a second? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, board appointments, I'll go to Vice Chair Lee.
Thank you. I move that we appoint David Taylor to the Airport Advisory Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Shows unanimous.
That's it? That was easy. Okay, the consent agenda, does anyone have any questions on it? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Okay, second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay. Mr. Causey, I think we're back to you again.
My comments will be brief. One of the things I'd like to share with the board is we appreciate the board and all of the board does. You probably don't get the thanks that you deserve, but it certainly appears to me that the things that you've done in recent months to try to deal with the challenges of compensation and retention of employees is very much appreciated. Have we done all that everybody would like? No, we have not, but are we making a conscientious effort? I think we are. In addition to that, we got a variety of you that participate in a lot of things. For example, you have signed a resolution, or the resolution in your packet tonight was a resolution to DOT inviting them to potentially extend Highway 24 from its current end out to Interstate 40. I like to call out Commissioner McClam. I think he has worked on that, had some conversations, and who knows, if we get that, maybe we'll call it the Commissioner McClam extension. In addition to that, Ms. Letha Lee is going to be participating Thursday in a conversation at the state on the efforts going into working with the Ivanhoe system and how that came about and suggestions it might be. And I think we have Mr. Gillum will also be participating in conversations, and our engineers have agreed to also attend that meeting and assist Ms. Letha as she may need or to answer any questions that anybody has. So we're extremely proud of those contributions. The next thing I will mention, and this alludes to what you've said, we're now in the mode where we can begin thinking about the budget and having lots of discussions. And I can tell you, Commissioners, that based on my conversations with the chairman, he has the budget on his mind about every day because we generally have some conversation that relates to the budget and unintended consequences that could come about. There's always the possibility that we can get some additional funding for a variety of projects, and we're trying to put that list together as we speak. And Ms. Lee, Chairman Kivett, along with you, have been very clear as we want to be careful about requesting projects that's going to cost us additional operational expenses as we move along. So that I can think of one project in particular I might would have liked to pursue that has been eliminated because of that, because there's no way to do it any cheaper than that. But we are starting the budget process, and there will be more discussions as we come on, and I hope we're as friendly at the end of this budget process as we are now. The last thing that I would mention is Commissioner Godwin and I attended the Department of Social Services Advisory Board meeting today, and one of the things that they pointed out, we saw some, so we asked some questions. At the current time, they have 24 vacancies, okay? They've got a staff of about 150 people, okay? If they get 6 more vacancies, we're now running about a 20% vacancy over there, and when you get to 20%, you've got some programmatic problems and probably will be done. Those are spirited people. They intend to do the job as best they can. But the challenge that they have got, and our challenges across the board are more than compensation. A lot of it is in the work and other things that come across. For example, the state, and I don't know that they have to, the requirements that we have for some of the programs that we have, such as foster care, adult services, and whatever, they're coming with more and more intense audits. Well, those are the divisions of people that are being affected the most. So we're reducing the number of people that we have. At the same time, the requirements of what is required for the care of some of those people, that is important. And it is getting to the point, it's very challenging for us to meet all of those requirements and provide the services. So as we move along, yes, we do have challenges with employee retention, social services, the sheriff's department, and a variety of offices. So the personal traumas that can be created when you work in a situation that has limited people can be quite stressful and have an effect on us. So as we move forward, yes, we will bear that in mind. And yes, as a manager, sometimes I get to looking at numbers more than I should have and budgets, as opposed to thinking as completely as I should about the impacts. But when you attend a meeting such as what we attended today, I think Mr. Godwin would be glad to share. You become amazed at what some of our staff are having to endure in the performance of their job, whether it's law enforcement, emergency services, DSS, the health department, whatever it is. Stephanie would probably say having to work with the county manager might be added to that list. So just something I thought I would share. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir. I'd like to thank all of our staff and county employees for what they do. The sheriff's department working under the duress that they are, the social services, health department is finding people to work is a problem. I saw a statistic today that says there are 7 million fewer people in the workforce between the ages of 25 and 54 that are able-bodied. They're just not working. I don't know where they get their money, but you take them out of the workforce, we're short in a lot of areas. And so, again, thank you for what you do. Anyone have a comment that you want to make at this time? All right, we're at the public comment section. Stephanie, if you would read our statement on public comment.
Okay, I will just give a brief summary of our policies and procedures. In accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes, we have a period reserved for comments from the public on topics that are not included in our agenda today. You will be asked to come up to the podium and you'll have 3 minutes. When you have 1 minute remaining in your time, the light will turn yellow. When your time is out, the light will turn red and make a chime. We do ask that you wrap up your comments promptly. For the safety of the board, please do not approach the board. And just as a note, the board is not required to answer any questions. This is just to address the board.
Thank you. At this time, as they signed up, Ms. Bell, would you come forward? Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the board. My name is Lacey Bell. I live at 2812 East Darden Road, and that's facing North Carolina, just beyond Hargrove School. A few months ago, I came before the board in reference to extension of a water line. Right now, the water line stops at .5 on East Darden Road. The residents on the lower end of East Darden Road, which I live on, made a request to the Board of Commissioners to extend the water line. Some of us had already paid when the water line was first being put down. As a result of that, and me coming before the board, and tonight again I'm here on behalf of those residents as well as myself to say thank you to the Board of Commissioners, thank you to the Water Board, and special thanks to Mr. Reynolds. Once I made my request to you all, action was taken immediately Mr. Reynolds just informed me just before Christmas that the engineers were in the process of working on the plans, and it looks like something is going to happen around March or early April for us on East Darden Road. So again, I want to thank you on behalf of the residents of East Darden Road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. At this time, Temple Bird, please.
Hello, thank you for hearing me tonight. My name is Temple Bird. I'm from Garland, North Carolina. I'm here mostly tonight not because I expect any answers, other than to tell you thank you for everything you do. I had an unfortunate situation that I just didn't feel like, as a concerned citizen, was properly addressed. So I kind of felt like I had a need to make a public record of it. We live in a rural area. When I say we, me and a pretty large population. We had a horse that was running loose, not being properly tended to. This originally started on Thursday before Christmas. Several phone calls were made. We were calling 911. We kept being directed to the Highway Patrol. On the Tuesday after Christmas, I actually contacted the Animal Control Department. I did that after I had made a post on a public forum asking for some sense of direction. What do we need to do? I was as concerned about the public safety, because this was a large horse, as I was the animal. And to be fair, I was concerned about both. So I made a phone call, spoke with someone that I sincerely thought was a gentleman. The phone call lasted all of about 9 minutes, went around in a circle. I was given no assurances, no promises. Essentially, I hung up frustrated. My first mistake was I did get frustrated. I did not lose my temper. I did not cuss at anyone, but I did feel like my concerns were not being addressed. I think I actually hung up asking to speak with the highest ranking officer on patrol. But in the end, I think I proceeded with, I think I'll just call the sheriff. In 3 minutes' time, I was called back by the sheriff. That conversation also did not go well. I'm not sure if I was set up because I was already frustrated, or if he was set up because he'd been listening to his officer. That conversation as well didn't go well. Again, I felt like I was not being heard. As a result of that, no one showed up. I did get a call sometime later and was told that they had been out there was no horse to be found. That became a problem because the horse was there. The summary is the North Carolina Highway Patrol ended up showing up. They helped us get the horse rounded up. This occurred last Sunday, so that's almost 2 weeks. Had it not been for the Highway Patrol, we would have never gotten this horse taken care of. Now the big mystery becomes, where's the horse? Because I had made arrangements for the horse to be located at the arena and several good horse people to go and adopt the horse. The horse has mysteriously disappeared. And I have heard, although it's not appropriate, that the horse was taken to the animal control officer's house so that the original homeowner could go back and adopt the horse. I feel like I didn't get to finish that story properly. There's so much more to that.
We'll give you another minute.
Okay, thank you. So I'm concerned as a citizen that we were not properly heard. To make this story even more complicated, the animal control officer went on Facebook under my post, posted some very inappropriate comments, made some accusations that were way out of line, extremely unprofessional, and then proceeded to post my phone number on a public forum. Now, granted, she blocked 3 digits after the area code, but I work in an environment where I would have lost my job on the spot. I do not think anyone representing Sampson County Sheriff's Department should be allowed to do so. I did try to file a complaint with Sheriff Thornton. Unfortunately, his answer to me was he didn't answer to anybody. He was the beginning, the end, and he was the only person who had any responsibility for correcting his officers. I would be profoundly disappointed if someone represented me in a Sampson County Sheriff's Department uniform and treated me the way his officer treated me, be it animal control or someone else. And I just have a problem with the fact that as a concerned citizen that was trying very hard to prevent the safety of a person and the safety of an animal, and there appeared to be no repercussions for the actions of that animal control officer. Thank you, and I just want him to be heard. Have a blessed day, and thank you all for all you do. You face a lot of hard, hard things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Byrd. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? That's all we have signed up. If not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Meeting's adjourned.